Hey there, history buffs. Today we're diving into a crucial chapter of the Cold War, the Eisenhower Doctrine. Picture this: 1957, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union are running high. Both sides are locked in an ideological battle, capitalism versus communism. The Soviets are flexing their muscles in the Middle East, a region crucial for its oil reserves. This worried the United States, which saw the Soviets' influence as a threat to its interests and allies. Things were tense and the world watched nervously. That's where President Dwight D. Eisenhower comes in. On January 5, 1957, he delivered a special message to Congress outlining a new foreign policy approach, the Eisenhower Doctrine. This doctrine aimed to counter Soviet influence in the Middle East. The Eisenhower Doctrine was a big deal. It showed the US was willing to take a stand against communism, even in regions far from its borders. It was a clear message to the Soviets: don't mess with the Middle East. Now, you might be wondering, why did President Eisenhower feel the need for this new doctrine? Well, the Cold War was like a global chess match, with each side trying to outmaneuver the other. The Middle East, with its strategic importance and unstable political landscape, became a key battleground. The Soviets were eager to exploit any opportunity to gain influence there. Eisenhower saw this and knew he had to act. The region was vital, and the US couldn't afford to let it fall under Soviet control. The Eisenhower Doctrine was his way of drawing a line in the sand. The doctrine had two main goals. First, it aimed to deter communist aggression in the Middle East. The message was clear: if you try to mess with our allies, we'll be there to stop you. The Eisenhower Doctrine wasn't just about talking tough, it had teeth. It came with a promise of economic and military aid to any nation in the Middle East threatened by communist aggression. This meant the US was willing to provide financial assistance to strengthen these countries' economies and military support to help them defend themselves. It was a way of saying, we've got your back. The doctrine wasn't just about reacting to threats, it was also about preventing them. By strengthening its allies in the region, the US aimed to create a strong deterrent against Soviet expansionism. The idea was to make it clear to the Soviets that any attempt to gain influence in the Middle East would be met with strong resistance. It was a strategy of containment aimed at preventing the spread of communism. Section 4, Lebanon Crisis, a doctrine in action. The Eisenhower Doctrine wasn't just a piece of paper, it was put into action in 1958 during the Lebanon crisis. Lebanon, a small nation bordering Syria, was facing internal turmoil, with a pro-Western government facing a rebellion supported by pro-Soviet elements. Fearing a communist takeover, Lebanon's president, Camille Chamoun, appealed to the United States for help. Eisenhower saw this as a test of the doctrine and responded swiftly. US Marines landed in Lebanon, helping to stabilize the situation and preventing a possible communist takeover. The intervention, though brief, demonstrated the US's commitment to the Eisenhower Doctrine and its determination to counter Soviet influence in the region. Section 5. Shaping the Cold War landscape. The Eisenhower Doctrine had a significant impact on the Cold War. It helped to contain Soviet influence in the Middle East, preventing the region from falling under communist control. The doctrine also strengthened the US's position in the region, forging closer ties with key allies. It was a clear demonstration of American power and resolve during a period of heightened global tensions. However, the doctrine wasn't without its critics. Some argued that it drew the US too deeply into the affairs of other nations, potentially entangling the country in unwanted conflicts. Despite these criticisms, the Eisenhower Doctrine remains a key chapter in the history of the Cold War. It reflected the complexities of the era and the challenges faced by the United States in navigating the global struggle against communism. It's a reminder of how history is shaped by the choices made by leaders and the consequences of those choices.